Hello again, and thank you very much for participating in our voluntary studies. As you know, I am Dr. Justin Verbatim. It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. Now then, to determine your eligibility and future participation in our studies, I have a brief questionnaire on your recent medical and health history. Before we begin, though, I would like to stress that this is not a conventional survey. I will be here to conduct it for purposes of emotional evaluation and validity. So, before we begin, I'd just like to make sure that you're very comfortable with our settings. And if you've got any questions, I'd like to clear that up. Oh, of course, the mask. Well, this is as much for your safety as mine. As you know, here at the E.I.R.U. clinic, well, our traditional facilities are currently undergoing some quite drastic repairs, so our facilities have been relocated here. I admit it's a lot different than what we're accustomed to. It's quite unfortunate we weren't able to bring our larger furniture items, for example, to put it bluntly, but we've relocated to this, as you might know. It was an old nursing home, and so the surroundings are a bit more colorful than perhaps you're used to, but as well as all the various dust and things that we're currently working with. There's always the concern of different airborne items that might have been left over. Certainly nothing for you to concern yourself with, but for example, in many of these storage areas where we're currently keeping a lot of our more sensitive equipment, there are some various dust concerns. And it's not a bad habit to get into, since we do seem like we're going to be having to get comfortable at this facility for the moment. Yes, that's very true. I can't actually tell you what happened to our other facility. Some things are in fact classified, but at the same time, let's just say I want to make sure that the results of this survey aren't skewed in some direction or another. It's another reason why it's face-to-face rather than simply an online survey for your eligibility. And I'd like to thank you again on behalf of the facility here for you sharing your time with us. It's extremely important to our research, and depending on the results of the testing and such things, you will be credited with helping our team, which, as you know, is quite a big honor if our studies and research produce what we're hoping to produce, which, again, is to a certain degree classified, but that will, of course, be lifted if everything goes according to plan. All right. So again, I'd encourage you to just lie back in your chair and relax. This isn't anything too personal. For some of the more specific questions, I'd ask you to really think about your recent history in the first few weeks ago. Even something as simple as a headache in the middle of the day without an apparent cause might in fact be quite significant. But let's go into the basic questions, of course. So I'd just like to first get your full name, please. Okay, and your date of birth, please. Yes. The year? Yeah. Okay. And I assume your gender is, of course. I don't mean to offend, but some things are more easily known just on sight than... Alright, so along with that, your current city of origin. Okay. Of course. Alright. So, have you been on any medication in the last 3 months? Particularly anything pertaining to the head, aspirin even. Okay. Okay. Do you have any serious allergies that we should be aware of? Okay. Have you had any recent illnesses of any kind, really? Okay. How about trouble sleeping? Okay. Just a moment. There's actually a whole checklist of symptoms that we're going to get into in just a moment. I'll mention that there, yes. This one's a bit more personal, so we've decided to simplify it quite a lot. On a scale of 1 to 10, how dependent on you when it comes to the internet? Really? How frequent do you use it? How many times per day? Really? Okay. And how many hours would that? Okay. More than television. All right. And how would your frequent use of other technology be? For example, things like cars, microwaves, radios. Yes, coming into contact would count, certainly. Okay. All right. So now, let's see here. In the past, say, 3 weeks or so, have you experienced any of the following symptoms? Now, I'll just be checking yes or no for each one, and this will be quite important later. As trivial as it may seem, even to the smallest degree, if you can say that you've experienced this, it could be significant. All right, so to start off, in the last 3 weeks, have you experienced a headache of any kind? Okay. Fever? Chills? And keep in mind that this is outside of the norm. For example, if you walked outside at night without a shirt on, I can imagine that you were cold, but again, this is outside of the usual. Let's see. Have you experienced a rash? Disorientation? Have you experienced the taste of metal? Memory loss? Loss of appetite? Have you felt bloated? Has your vision changed? Have you felt a buzzing in your ears? exhaustion. Okay. Color blindness. It's yes or no. Okay. Have you experienced any strange burns? Anywhere? Like, without reason. Okay. Nausea. Okay. And different from nausea. Vertigo. Yes, also different from disorientation. Outside of the norm, have you been hearing voices? Okay. Have you experienced unexplained phone calls? Joint pain? Okay. Panic attacks? Have you felt like you were isolating yourself? Honestly? That's what I thought. On the flip side, have you felt unusually extroverted? Any sort of neck pain? And have you had an irregular heartbeat? Right now. Okay. That's interesting. Alright. That's very good. I'll have to talk to my assistants about how they've helped put this survey together. I'm not entirely sure this was the best way of getting such information. Oh, and of course, the question they like to ask, since our database has been experiencing some quite grand technical difficulties. Have you been at this clinic in the last 3 months? Yeah, you have? Okay. I don't recognize you, personally. Who is your physician? Okay. And it was for a regular checkup. Are you experiencing one of those headaches now? Yes. Okay. And what did this Dr. Redloff look like? Okay. Missing a hand. Not quite. You can't remember. Okay. Let me just change the entry on memory loss. A second. No, it's nothing to worry about. Again, very clinical and interesting. And you say he worked... Well, the E.I.R.U, as you know, is but one division of our regular health services, but I do feel like mentioning that there is no one by the name of Redloff working here or that has worked with us in the past. I know this, yes, because I am in fact the lead on this current project, and indeed the overseer of all projects in the E.I.R.U division. I'm not saying that your experience is not valid. I'm just letting you know. Have you had a history of hallucinations? I did mention that you should remain relaxed. It's not going to look very good on your file if things suddenly sour after all this very important data. As I mentioned at the beginning, we'll be looking at this over the coming next weeks to determine your eligibility in our programs, as well as if it's determined that you're not perhaps eligible for some of our tests, we may still include you as part of our control group, which, as you know, in terms of science, is an extremely important aspect as well. I would, however, like to ask how long ago it was that you met with this Mr. Redloff. I would acknowledge the validity of your statements if they are as heartfelt as you say they are. Okay. And it was in our old facility. Okay. Unfortunately, since our database has been, as I said, undergoing some quite severe repairs, I wouldn't be able to go back and check your personal files. Indeed, we're fairly certain we'll have to rebuild most of our data from scratch. Although we are extremely optimistic, it is one of the biggest problems we're facing right now at the clinic. And indeed, in our research and development section, with the Electronic Interference Research Unit, E.I.R.U, as you know. But regardless, from everything I've gotten here, my last question I would like to ask is if you would be open to either more surveys or testing in the near to immediate future. No, I find it fascinating. I really do. There's something about you that is quite unlike a lot of the other patients we've seen so far. I can't prescribe anything for you just yet until we process the data and undergo some other tests, but this has been extremely interesting. Your city again was, yes. And that would be how far from our facilities? Okay. Very good. Well, again, I'd like to thank you very much for your time here. And I wish you a good day. The receptionist will see you out. Thanks again for coming. I hope to see you again soon. Okay, and take care of yourself. Quite. Thank you.